And we're back. We're spending more time with Kristin Nicholas and more time with hexagons. This is like my springtime obsession with these hexagons. So the last time, in our last episode, we learned how to make these beautiful 3-color hexagons. Thank you so much. And now we're going to put them together in a larger project. While this little garland is great, there are so many wonderful big projects that you can use these hexagons in, including this
so beautiful
Afghan inspired by the blankets that Kristin's been making for years, and this adorable cowl that we're going to make. And we're also going to show you how to make the little half hexagons to sort of straighten out that one edge. Now you could do it so it's sawtooth on both sides, still super cute. But I'm just a little picky, and like the aesthetic thing for me was to have like one straight side and one sawtooth side. So we've got half hexagons for you.
The funny thing is, I don't do the half hexagons. So mine is straight across the bottom where the ripple is, and then mine go undulate out. Because I never learned, so I'm really happy I get to learn today.
I love the half hexagons and just sort of like straightening out that edge. It's a me thing. You gotta be neurotic about the right things. So why don't you walk us through how you stitch your hexagons together? What's your whole process of putting it all together?
All right. So normally when I am sewing these things together, I will use the color that's on the outside rim.
Gotcha.
Okay, and that's what I choose to sew with. And what that does is it disappears once I sew it together. And I work around in a circle.
Oh, so you'll add 6 hexagons around one.
Yeah, all at the same time. So I've got this one string yarn.
Oh, I've gotcha. So if we were to do this,
Yep.
you would normally use that pink.
And it would go all the way around.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Here, let me get those out of the way.
And then after, I just keep building out. Okay. So it could be because I just sort of picked this up and did this and didn't follow any directions. And so this is the way I do it. I mean, like I said before, I'm more known for knitting technique than crochet.
A storied career.
So I'm going to start with my end. And I'm going to go through here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go, through here. I got my end. I'm going to do a stitch there and just come up here. And now I'm going to start sewing. And I actually learned to sew before I learned to crochet. And I just always love sewing.
I do too.
Yeah, so
I think that's part of why I don't mind weaving in ends.
Yeah, because it's sewing. It's so meditative. Now, I should have started over here, so I'm just going to go over here.
Yeah, so there's no right or wrong place to start stitching. It's wherever feels comfortable for you. And we're both right-handed, so we're probably going to start at the right hand of one of those sides and work our way right to left. If you're left-handed, work left to right, or whichever way is most comfortable for you.
Okay, so we want to line up these 2 hexagons, and I am going to go into one of these holes where the chain stitch was, and I'm going to just join it.
Oh, I see.
Join the 2 holes together, and I do 2 stitches just to secure it. And then I just carry across. So at the top of the double crochet, I stitch the 2 together. I call this whip stitch. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I call it.
It is, yeah. Okay. You're just whipping your way around.
It through.
Yep.
And now I'm going over to my other one.
Yeah, you're just matching them stitch to stitch.
And when you do this, you'll see that there's a little bit of a jog where the stitches don't exactly meet up. And then here, I go through the hole, and I stitch twice in that hole, pull it tight, and then I carry across the top 2, and you can get pretty fast at this.
Yeah.
Like really fast, actually. Now, if I were to sew with this color, This would not even show, okay? But we're showing it in the dark green so that you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah. And now we're ready to join our other hexagon.
Oh, so then you would just grab another one here.
I'd grab another one. Okay, and this is, you know, I made all this stuff up because, as I said, I'm not trained in crochet. So I stitched these two together. It's not like I made it up and it's original. Somebody else figured it out also. But
lots of folks have figured. There's lots of hexagons. There's lots of ways to do this.
Okay, so I do 2 stitches here. Then I go over here, and I stitch these two together.
Ah.
Like that. Well, that was, I would have gone under. I do 2 there, and I do 2 here.
And that joins those 3 corners
and that joins,
together.
And then I just carry across. Now, usually, you know, then when I get over here, I join, and it just keeps growing out organically. The only thing is, I mean, sometimes these things get pretty unwieldy, and then I have to take it, put it down on the ground, and figure out where I have to add to it. And it's sort of a puzzle. I sort of find it fun. But what I do is I use safety pins. And down on the ground or on a big table, I safety pin them together.
Yeah, so you could use stitch markers in the same way.
Yep.
I mean, nobody has a million stitch markers. I mean, I do, but that's
I don't.
me.
You know what? I never use stitch markers. I use scraps of yarn.
I use stitch markers. I love these locking stitch markers because they function
that's like a safety pin.
Yeah,
and you can see them with the.
Yeah, so you could really plan it out this way and sort of lay all your colors out.
Yep.
Or if you just that's the one that I want to be there. I'm just going to clip it there and it's there.
Right.
Very nice. So you just stitch your way around like that.
This looks not so great now, but if it were with the same color, like
it would just disappear.
It disappears totally.
Yeah, this is so that you can really see how it's really clear and easy to see where she's putting those stitches between the hexagons for you. Because if we were to do it in the pink, they disappear so well, you'd have a hard time seeing where they were.
And actually, now that I'm looking at this, so I started going up this way. What I should have done is gone this way and all the way around.
Right, because if you'd had the pink, that would have been...
If I've had the pink,
that would have been easier to see.
Yep. So Sarah, how do you sew these things together?
So I think it's so funny. We were talking before about weaving and ends, and you're very meticulous, and I'm a little more, fly by night. But I'm much more meticulous with how I sew it together. So I like to leave a nice long tail at the very end when I finish the 3rd round. So I leave myself like a 6 to 8 inch tail. These are a little short. I don't know what I did to myself. And then I use this tail to sew them together. And I sew them together in strips.
Okay.
So I don't make the big organic amoeba. I make very straight strips. So like for the cowl, it's 30 hexagons and 10 half hexagons. So I will make 3 strips of 10, and then I will join those together. So this is how I make the strips. So the tail ends up in the middle of a side.
Okay.
So I am gonna travel by stitch. And I'm
you're going front to back, front to back.
So I sort of go back and forth and back and forth this way. So I'm just working my way across under the top 2 strands of the stitch. So like this is the same place where you would put your hook if you were to work a stitch in there. And I'm going front to back until I get over to this corner. Okay. Now, when I go to put these 2 together, I want to make sure that the tail for this one that I'm joining to is up here because I'm going to make a whole strip of them. I have 2 chains here in the corner. Okay. Oh, it should be 1. I don't know why I have 2 chains there. So I start by going under that one in the corner.
So you went from front to back.
Yep.
Okay.
So because I have 2 here, I'm just going to get over to here. Okay. I'm going to go under those, the 2 at the top, and then I'm going to join it by going under the 2 at the top in this corner. See that?
Oh, yep. So you've got 2 and 2.
Yep.
Loops. Basically, you're making a loop almost.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go, these 2 stitches match each other. So I'm going under those 4 strands this way. and then back the other way under 4 strands, and I go that way across to the other corner.
Wow, and it's all disappearing, and then you've got that pretty little chained edge.
Yes, so the tops of the stitches sit up on top.
Yeah, I love that.
And this, it doesn't matter what color you use.
Yeah, because it all disappears.
Yeah, so for the big blanket, when I put that together, that's all put together with this same green color, but you can't see it. So you just work your way across here.
Okay.
And then, oh, I have one more.
That's why you need the 6-inch tail, though, because you need just enough to get across.
Yep, and then I go out the back.
Okay.
And then I hold on to this corner where I started, and I give it a tug. It almost goes zigzag there for a second, but then it lies flat. And then I can flip it over and I can weave in my ends.
Okay.
Now here's one of my favorite tips. Now I have a pretty short tail now here, so it doesn't really feel like enough to weave in. So what I'll do is I'll weave my needle where I want the yarn to go, then I'll thread my needle.
Oh, okay.
And I do the same kind of thing. I fold the yarn over the needle and then pull it through. So I'll pull it through the backs of those 2 stitches, and then I'll weave it through the feet of these stitches. And again, my needle's not threaded right now. Now I'll thread my needle because my tail is too short to keep the needle threaded and put the needle where it needs to go. Then I can pull them through, and then I can clip my tail. Now, somebody had asked us a question. Why don't we just tie our yarn? Why don't we just tie a knot? You know, we go through all this work to weave in these ends. Why don't we just tie a knot and cut it and we'll be done?
No.
Why don't you tie knots? And I'll tell you why I don't tie knots.
Well, they tend to, if you just tie, say, a square knot, it's going to come loose because Afghans or blankets, whatever you want to call them, they get a lot of wear, knees, kicking. If you're my family, oh my goodness, you know, they're like twisted around and so they get a lot of wear.
They do.
So if you just had a little knot, it would, and with a really short tail, the whole thing would be flying apart.
Oh yeah, it'll come apart over time.
So that's why I don't tie knots.
And I've always found that it doesn't matter where you tie the knot, it's gonna come to the front of the work eventually.
Oh yeah, it does.
And it's just not aesthetically pleasing to me. But also, I'm a very tactile person, and if there's a knot, I can feel it. I'll feel it, and it'll drive me crazy. But if none of that bothers you and you're not worried about it, tie a knot.
Especially if it's like a decorative thing. It's not going to get a lot of use,
If it's not going to use, especially if it's, that's a good point. Especially if it's decorative. See, and then while we've been chatting, I sewed another one on there.
How fast?
Yeah. And then we just weave in the end. So this is how I build my larger projects.
So there's no right or wrong way. It's the way you prefer to do it, you know?
So like for this cowl, so this is 3 strips. You could start with 1 and put 6 around it and then add 3 more over here and 3 more over there. You go, let's see, I've got a couple of more hexagons here. They're still jellyfish hexagons, so they still have all of their tails, but I can show you how these strips come together before it's joined together into the round. So here's our happy jellyfish. That's so funny. When my kids were little, that's what they called little projects like this.
Really?
Mom, you making more jellyfish? Jellyfish. So let me, because we haven't sewn these together yet, but let me put this together into a 3 hexagon strip. And so you can't put them together point to point because then you've got these spaces in between. So you have to tessellate them. You have to
tessellate?
Yes.
What the heck is that?
That's when shapes fit into each other in a larger matrix without spaces in between them.
Matrix?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know, big words. Sorry.
Big words.
Me and my $10 words. I need one more. And I'm going to push this out of the way a little bit. And so here's another 3 hexagon strip. And so this one, like you could make the mistake of putting it there.
Right, yeah.
But then when you try to put it together, it won't fit.
Right.
So it's got to go this way.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that when you then bring the ends together, you can see, let me slide this out of the way now. When you bring the ends together, you can see this is the end of one strip, then this is the shorter one, and then this is the longer one. On the other end, you have short, long, short. So when you round this together, this one that's poking out here
Matches.
fits in and fills out that space there. So then what about the half hexagons? How do you make that straight edge? And this is in the pattern for the cowl and in the pattern for the blanket. And the half hexagons are really super simple. So they start with that round one.
Okay.
You have your groups of 3 in round 1, but we do half of it on one side.
What's half of 3?
So we've sort of figured it out a little bit, right? Because we can't do 1.5 stitches.
Right.
So it's a chain 2, and then a double crochet.
Okay.
Then you go into your 3 double crochet groups,
Okay.
and then there's 2 more at this side.
Right.
Then you go back and you start in the same place, and you create 3 of those corners.
Okay.
Then you go back with your 3rd color, and we do a side, a corner, a side, corner, side, corner, side, and then we single crochet along the bottom to wrap that color all the way around.
Oh,
because
nice.
otherwise you'd have a raw edge.
Right, you don't want that.
It doesn't quite feel finished.
Right.
So when you've got your half hexagons done, and there's 10 of them for the cowl, the blanket project, there's 3 different sizes of the blanket. So you'll need to refer to your patterns for, how many hexagons you need. For this little 3x3, it was 100 hexagons. So I did 10 strips of 10 and joined them together. And these actually go together really easy. When you have your strips, I know it seems a little funky because you've got these strips and they've got these points that fit in, but I sew them together exactly the same way that I did these nice straight seams. You start in the corner, you work your way across to here, you sew the 3 together almost the same way that you did. Then a straight side, that corner there, straight side, corner, straight side, corner, straight side, and that's how you join them all together. So then when you're adding in the half hexagons, again, you can do it one by one, the way that Kristin did, and be really organic with it. I like to join it into a strip.
We're showing each other different personalities.
Yeah,
right?
there's no right way. There's no wrong way to do it. There's no right way to do it. This is part of the fun of crafting with friends. You teach each other things, even when you've known each other forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I join my half hexagons into a strip, and then I sew them into place along one edge of my full hexagons.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's so much fun to play with the color in these.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love the settling into the 3 colors for the cowl. I just thought this was so pretty, these 3 colors together. And again, this is the Barocco Ultra Alpaca. This one is in Tiger's Eye and turquoise mix. And then this is the barley color. So it's not white, it's not ivory, it's sort of like dirty snow.
Mushroom kind of.
Yeah, it's just really pretty and really helps those colors pop. So it's a great way to use just 3 colors. We've got a couple of kit options for this. And then let's look at the blanket, Kristin, and let's talk about colors a little bit. Okay. I know we've got a color wheel.
The thing about a color wheel is people are scared to death of that term. I don't know why they are.
It's such a wonderful tool.
Right. So what I call a color wheel is a rainbow in the round.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So you've got your rainbow and it just keeps going round and round and round. And that's how the color wheel is, round and round and round. And so there's different ways to work with color. You can work with analogous colors.
And so what are those?
You say a lot of fancy names. I don't, but analogous is kind of fancy, right?
That's your $10 word for today.
Yeah, right. So analogous means that the colors are close to each other on the color wheel. So they would be like blue, teal, green, and those tend to be more tonal. Okay, that's what we call tonal, or I call tonal. And then there's complementary colors, which that's my favorite is the complementary. People that don't like a lot of color tend to work with the analogous colors. And so complementary means it's opposite on the color wheel.
Oh.
So if you look at the color wheel, and these color wheels, you can get them at an art supply store. And there's all different kinds of combinations, but mostly the most important one is analogous and complementary. Complementary are opposite each side on the color wheel. So if we look here, this is a red violet, and this is sort of a greeny yellow chartreuse, one of my favorites. Okay, and you see how they are opposite on the color wheel.
Look at that.
Okay? And when you start fooling around with color, do you see how your eye pops when those two are put together?
They look so much more like their own color. Like they're brighter, they're richer when they're next to each other.
Right. And the thing is, it's a tension. I'm making this stuff up, but this is what I feel. It's a tension that your eye is popping between the two colors, okay? If you'd use this and this, there is barely any tension.
Yeah.
The difference with this, these are both dark tones. So if you were to put these next to each other in a hexagon, it's really going to read blue.
Yeah.
You know, and if it were to go like that, it's going to be a tonal hexagon. If I were doing this, because I love color, I would probably put this yellow, or it's gold, and I would do gold, magenta, and the olive green. You can also go like that.
Yeah.
Or you can go, well, that is the same. So they're popping.
Well,
right?
if we're thinking about the 3-color hexagons, yeah, you've got 3 different options there. You've got this one.
Right.
Actually, you've got more than that. 6. You've got this one.
I don't know how many
You've
there
got
are, but
this
there's a
one.
lot.
You've got this one. You've got that
Right,
one.
and
You've
you
got
can
that
just
one.
keep making them, right? You
Yeah.
make all different things, and that's how you learn about color. Also, if you look at the hexagon, so let's see, this here is the one I demoed on the first, and the reason I chose these colors and this progression was, if you look at the color wheel, so orange is across from teal.
Yeah.
So by putting the teal in the center of this hexagon, it's popping.
Yeah.
Okay.
That tension is there.
And if I were to put these two next to each other, it would be sort of dead.
Yeah.
So I really prefer like having colors pop, but I also understand that a lot of people don't like that. And so they go for more the tonal thing. And once again, there is no right or wrong way. Now, can you hand me that cowl?
Yes.
Okay. So what Sarah's done here is she's got the same color all the way through. So this is making more of a pattern, and it's just a repeat. It's a pattern repeat. What if you were to take this same idea, and I've made Afghans like this. They turn out gorgeous. So you play with 2 colors in here. Now, I don't know if Sarah knew this, but these are almost complementary colors. There's this kind of brownish, which got a little red undertone, orangey undertone, and then she put the teal next to it, opposite. And what she did was she edged it in a neutral. Now, you can take the hexagons and play with all those complementary color combinations in the first 2 rows. Choose a color for your last round. Make it exactly the same. And it holds together, but you still have that super colorful kind of stained glass look. Almost like stained glass is like, you know, if you look at a church window and they always have that black trim.
Yeah.
You know, but if you use, depending, the other thing, oh, I get so excited about color, man.
If you could, we're going to run a couple of photos from Kristin's home, and you'll see all of the color that surrounds her every day, and all of this, that will help to make all of this make sense, because she's the color queen.
Oh, man. So if you did like black, it would have more of a stained glass look.
Oh, and then almost like old granny squares.
Yeah. But then you could also do like, just imagine if you did this pretty gold color in between. So it would be gold, and it would be like, you know, popping different colors.
I love yellow and gray together. So
yeah,
I love a good Grello project.
So anyway, I mean, color is endless, and I feel like so many people are afraid of color. Like they might see this project and they just say, okay, I'm going to do this in beiges. And the thing is, if you think about magazines and fashion, how they use color, a lot of it, you open these home decorating magazines, and I swear, everything is beige and gray. Everything.
That is the trend right now.
Right. But I have this theory that it's because people are afraid. and they can't see how it would look if there were multiple colors in it. And my house was featured in some magazines.
Yes.
And the people that came to photograph it were so happy because they were so sick of seeing beiges and grays. And, you know, mine's it's like being in a rainbow. But,
it is. It's like being inside a kaleidoscope. You have hand-painted walls. There's so many different colors. I mean, every time you turn around in the house, there's more color.
And it all goes together.
It does.
You know, if you use a lot of color, it really does. And it's a progression. Some people are talented with color, and some people just grow into their use of color. So don't give up if you're afraid. Just start experimenting.
Yeah.
And that's why these hexagons are great to experiment.
They're so great. This is really a great starting point.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you really
totally.
want to start to bring color into your life.
Yeah. I just love these blankets. They're just so much fun.
Yeah. So we've talked about color, we've talked about how the cowl was put together, and I want to talk a little bit about the blanket. Now the blanket is sewn together in the same way that the cowl is sewn together, whichever way is more comfortable for you. If you're, nice and organic and you want to put them together a little bit here and there until it sort of fills its way out into the blanket, or if you want to put it together in the strip method the way that I did. I wanted to talk a little bit about the instructions in the pattern for how do you end up with all of these colorful hexagons that are so random and mixed and aren't repeated next to each other. So in the pattern, you'll see that there are 11 colors, and there are instructions to start with so many of round 1 in every color, and then to move on to round 2. So it'll depend on which size blanket they're making. This is the little 3x3 blanket, and you need 100 hexagons for this one. Now with 11 colors, and if you're making 10 of each, you're gonna end up with 110. And that's kind of the key, because you wanna have enough options to make sure that you mix up the colors when you're putting them together. So even if you end up, in this corner here, we've got a whole hexagon and a half hexagon that have the same third round color on them. This is why you wanna have extras, because you might end up with this. And it's okay if it's like out here in the corner, really nobody's gonna notice those two together. So round 1, you're gonna make 10 in each color. Then for round 2, you're gonna take round 1 from every color. So you'll have 11, you'll have one of each color, and you'll have 10, and you'll take the color that you don't have in those round 1s, and you'll put round 2 on all 10 of those. So I have, let's say this color blue, I'm gonna have a round 1 of every color except this color blue, and I'll use that color blue to put round 2 on all 10 of those centers. Does that make sense?
I'm not getting it, but my mind works differently than yours.
Yeah, so mine is very
very orderly.
organized and assembly line.
Maybe tonight I'll get it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But then once you've got every hexagon through round 2, then I just throw them all in a bin, and I randomly pick them out. And I do the same color on round 3 10 times. So I'll make 10 hexagons with the blue color. And so I just reach into the bin and I pull out a hexagon, and if round 2 isn't the blue, I put round 3 on. If it is, I toss it back in and I grab another one. So nowhere in this are there any 2 rounds that are the same color back to back. And then when you join the strips together, you just make sure that your third round is a different color.
Right.
And then you join them all together. You stitch them all together into your beautiful, beautiful blanket.
So what happens if you have 2 strips, right? You have 2 strips, and when you lay it down next to each other, there's 2 things next to each other that are the same color. So for instance, like this. This is teal. It's not the same color.
Right. But if they were both teal, I'd take this strip and flip it over the other way and see if it matches. If it doesn't, I would take it out, grab a different strip, because then maybe it would fit after the next one. But that's where those extra hexagons come in handy.
Yeah, totally.
Because you could lay this all out before you stitch it together, and then use your safety pins or your stitch markers to, keep your strips together. And then when you go to sew it all together that nothing's going to be repeated.
Right, okay. So the reason I do it the way I do it where I start with one and then add it all the way out and around. And then I go over here and I know that it's not going to be the same color as this. And then I add them here, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And so that's why I make it grow that way. Because when I do it, like when I sew them together, I would never put these two next to each other because they're not
close.
bouncing, you know? They're not bouncing in my eye. And so it tends to vibrate a little more. But seriously, you can't go wrong with all this color, right?
No, you can't.
I mean, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I just love big, colorful projects like this. It sort of takes me back to granny squares, which are making their way back in again in the way that they were, you know, when I was a kid, like the 70s granny squares, like everything 70s is coming back again.
It's almost like crazy quilts.
Yes.
You know, has a crazy quilt feeling because it's all these things, and then there's no decorative stitching on top, but you've got all that color happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look at any kind of like modern, quote unquote, modern art, it's like color blocks, and that's how this looks. And so it is pretty modern looking. The other thing you could do, you know, if you wanted to change this up, because once you start making this, you can then morph it on your own afterwards, maybe with your scraps. And so these have the 3, 1, 2, 3. But think about if you wanted to make a 5 rows.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just keep going.
You keep going, or you could do, say you wanted to do a 6 round hexagon. You could do 2 of this peachy color, 2 of that, 2 of that.
Yeah.
Or you could do peach, teal, and then all like 4 rows.
Oh, a nice big broad
So you'd have
border.
a big broad, and
yeah, you can get a lot of different looks out of that.
It's infinite how many different combinations you can make with these things, and none of your blankets that you make. This is why I'm on my 5th one. They don't look the same. You know,
they're
and
all different.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
And speaking of different, we have another very special hexagon project that we're going to bring to you in the next episode in this series. So Kristin, thank you for joining me
it was
this
fun.
episode, putting together these hexagons in these 2 great projects, the cowl and the blanket. You can pick up a kit for the cowl or for this gorgeous blanket. I'm so glad that you were here to make this with us at onebighappy.com. But for now, happy crocheting!